How did you find the speech by Minister of Finance?
You know, the problem we have with the minister, in fact, not only him as minister, but the entire government, and it starts from the president, that they recite the problems that are already known and they speak about, they analyze the problems without offering solutions. So that was the context and the perspective that we got from this particular speech. He spoke about the problems that are already known but without offering solutions. For example, at a local government level, he spoke about how local municipalities employ consultants for work that there's already staff complement in the municipalities. But there's no solution. There's nothing that he offered to say this is what will be done to address that particular problem. You go to the issue of illicit trade. He spoke about illicit trade and how it is making SARS not to collect the revenues that it should be collecting. But at the same time, there's no solution to say this is how much SARS will be given or these are the additional resources SARS will be given to actually fight illicit trade. So that is the biggest problem that we have, that you've got a government that rather wants to speak as if they are not in power, they're not in charge, they're not the executive. You don't have the sense that the government, is giving the impression that they actually want to resolve the problems that we have in the country.
Maybe speaking of SARS, actually, speaking to Minister earlier, he mentioned that SARS, of the expectations of the 20 billion that was expected that it to be collected, only 6 billion was collected. And one of the headwinds that SARS has encountered is issue around technical skill not being available and having to go out there and actually source out those technical skills. What's your reaction of SARS not being able to meet the target as expected?
It's a case of once you do not give the adequate resources to SARS, you can't expect miracles. You can't expect SARS to be able to miraculously meet their targets or perform better than what was expected. So the key here is give the SARS what they need for them to be able to do their work, and also assist when it comes to the technical part of things to ensure that from a technical perspective, SARS is capacitated enough to be able to do their work. For example, on the issue of illicit financial flows, SARS there only needs the technical expertise, needs additional resources, needs from an institutional level, departments or people that are just going to focus on that particular issue of illicit financial flows. However, if there's not enough resources, then SARS cannot deploy internally resources to fight illicit financial flows, to fight illicit trade. So once you defund such institutions, once you do not give adequate resources to such institutions, this is going to happen.
Maybe let's actually go back to the issue of state-owned entities. The issue of a concern is one also is denial. For the past 4 years, hasn't submitted audited financial statement, and National Treasury continues to bail it out. Well, one can argue that there's a governance lapses. What's your reaction on that?
Like I said earlier, you can't have a government that acts as if or that moves as if they are not in charge. You can't have an SOE that is not submitting financials, but at the same time you keep bailing it out. There should be someone who could be held accountable. Where is the CFO? Where is the board? Where is the executive there to be held accountable to say, but this can't, continue any further. There's PFMA, which gives guidelines as to what the government, how the Treasury and the SOEs, the relations and what needs to happen when it comes to the issues of the bailouts and the requirements by the SOEs when it comes to reporting. Now, if that particular SOE is not complying, is not doing their part, then you can't have the state via Treasury keep on pumping in money. So it's a case of you have a challenge of the Treasury or the executive not utilizing the power they should be utilizing to actually solve these problems.
Maybe while we're still on issues of state-owned entities, one of the ones that is giving an issue to the fiscals is the road accident fund. The liabilities, I can easily quote here, the liabilities are expected to increase to 422 billion in 2027-2028, and the revenue continue to perform below the expenditures. What has to be done with that institution?
With REF, the first thing that needs to be done is that there should be no payment that is given to foreigners for whatever accidents they may have in South Africa. Because when we go to other countries, we take insurance so that if anything were to happen to us, it is not the governments of those particular countries that will take care of us. But you find that in South Africa, quite a significant portion of the payments of REF are actually to foreigners. I think the highest payout was given to a foreigner, I think from Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken. So that is also one of the contributing factors towards how REF, is unable to have proper financial management. It is that loophole that allows each and every person, including people who are illegal in the country, by the way. So that is the first part. The second part, it is how you have lawyers, middlemen, that are basically, in the system in a manner that does not really encourage or make the road accident fund to pay the particular individuals who have been involved in accidents. And these lawyers, these law firms, are the ones that are milking the institutions dry. Hence, you find that they've been fighting transformation in the sector because these lawyers have basically captured road accident fund when it comes to the payment. So there's a lot that needs to be done in that particular institution. But the first point of departure is that only South African citizens must qualify for any payout when it comes to REV.
Okay. Maybe lastly, what came out here also is about the allocation that was granted or given to Matlanga Commission. Speaking of Matlanga Commission, ad hoc committees, issues that are coming out there's money being spent daily on those matters. What's your reaction in terms of any follow-up or consequences management that comes out of all these commissions that are taking place? Will we see people being held accountable?
We hope people will actually be held accountable. Just like the state capture commissions where billions were spent, but up until this day, none of the high-profile ministers, political players were actually held accountable. So with the Matlanga Commission, again, we do appreciate the fact that it has exposed the rot in terms of the corruption and wrongdoing that is happening in that particular department. And by the way, our view is to say, if you could have any other department have the same level of inquiry in terms of the happenings and what is happening in those particular departments, the same debt or the same level of debt would be exposed as well. However, what we want as a party is that there must be actual prosecutions and actual convictions, because that is the only way in which we were to solve the problems that we have. If people do not get arrested and they are sent to jail for a very long time, there is nothing that will inspire other people to say they must not go down the road of doing wrong things in our country, because many people are doing wrong things, but at the same time nothing is happening when it comes to consequence management. So we hope that the respective institutions, departments like the justice departments, plays its part when it comes to the actual prosecutions. And again, the NPA, the Hawks, must do their part so that we actually see people wearing red overalls.
Let me thank you so much, Mr. Vuyo Zungula.